Greetings everyone, this is SteamTeamRedubUK, CC Trainor-Ling, here to bring you another episode review from Season 6 of The Loud House. Today's episode is titled, Flip This Flip. First we'll discuss the plot, and then my thoughts and critiques with my final score. So, let's get right into it. The episode begins with an apprehensive Flip trying to call his former middle school crush Tammy Gobblesworth so he can ask her out on a date, but he panics and Lincoln makes the date for him. He and his sisters give Flip a complete makeover to get him looking more presentable, and they accompany him on his date to make sure everything goes over smoothly, barring a few mishaps along the way, of course. By the end, Flip has to come clean about who he really is, and to his surprise, Tammy not only accepts the real Flip she remembers from the past, but it turns out she's a female version of him as well, and they happily ride off into the night together, courtesy of Lincoln, who should have probably thought out his transportation plan a little better. Well, that concludes the plot of the episode, so now we come to my thoughts and critiques. Before I get to the good, the bad, and downright ugly parts of the episode, I feel I need to acknowledge something from Season 5 that more or less made this episode possible. For a long time, I thought one of the episodes from Season 5 was non-canon to the series, but given what happened in Flip This Flip, it would appear a Flipmas Carol is officially canon. So at the bare minimum, I will give credit to this episode for sticking to its own continuity. Flip not only has an exact flashback to his middle school dance from the same episode, but he still has the Gobblesworth Farm label from the turkey he gave the Louds on Christmas Day. Originally, I assumed it was a non-canon Charles Dickens-inspired adaptation from his classic Christmas story. I went with that theory because how could that episode have taken place if Season's cheatings was happening around the same time? Not to mention how Flip reverted to his greedy ways soon after. Although I do have a theory that could explain his greedy reset, and I'll touch base with that in just a bit. But does this episode mean Season's cheatings is non-canon and A Flipmas Carol is canon to the Loud House timeline? Could this open the door to indicate that possibly every holiday special might be non-canon in some regard? So many ways to look at it, so many questions to consider, a reminder of why you should never have back-to-back holiday-specific episodes in the same season, but here I am trying to make sense of a cartoon, so let's just move on from this unintended headache. Anyway, before I talk about the real stars of the episode, I just want to quickly highlight the Loud kids. For what it was worth, and I know I say this a lot, but I really do appreciate the episodes where they aren't fighting among themselves and work together to achieve a common goal. Even if they all know what kind of person Flip can be, and how he honestly doesn't deserve anything from anyone given how he treats others, they still came through for a guy who was helplessly in love. Putting aside their personal feelings for someone in order to help better that person's life is quite commendable. Now, I don't know if it's just me who thought this, but the way Lincoln and his sisters were reenacting their own version of a makeover show was like a subtle reference to the show Queer Eye for the Straight Guy, or at least it got me thinking about the show's opening credits. These Fab Five kids each had an individual field of expertise, and they were going to use their knowledge to help transform Flip into a better version of himself. Just watch the original opening sequence to Queer Eye and compare it to the Loud kids doing their introductions, and you'll see what I mean. Anyway, besides them, Flip was one of the two main stars of the episode, and for once I actually liked the way he was handled. This was one of his better episodes since he doesn't come off as overly greedy or a total jerk to anyone. He actually gives the kids free jerky as a token of appreciation for their help. It's not every day that happens. Of course, he did try to get out of paying for dinner, but did you honestly expect anything less? Who else but Flip? So besides a few moments where he nearly blew his well-dressed and more sophisticated cover in front of the girl he loved, the biggest selling point to his character in this episode was how he legitimately cared about someone other than himself. Again, it's not every day you see him doing something like that, and this is where my little post-Flipmas Carol theory comes into play. Seeing how he was much more generous and less antagonistic compared to his other appearances in most of Season 5, I suspect this episode takes place not long after Flip had his spiritual journey that was supposed to change his greedy lifestyle. I believe once he reconnected with his true love, and how he and Tammy are one and the same, he may have no longer felt the need to permanently change his life for the better, and simply went back to how he usually acts because now he has someone who will accept him for who he is no matter what he does, effectively undoing all the progress he made in the aforementioned Christmas special. I know it's a a strange theory, and it's probably dead wrong, but it would certainly explain why his character was reset so quickly after what should have been a change in the status quo. Regardless of how credible or worthless my theory is, at least Flip finally found his soulmate, and now we come to Tammy Gobblesworth. First off, major props to the show for getting the ever-talented Jodie Ariel Benson for providing Tammy's voice. It fits oh so well. Anyway, to a certain degree, I actually liked Tammy's character and how she was presented. She had a sense of authenticity when you find out her public persona is the exact opposite of who she is when she's alone. She's no stereotypical lady. And similar to the lesson Lincoln learned in the Girl Guru episode, she was a well-written example of how not all girls are the same. Everyone has different preferences in their lifestyles, habits, and what they see in their romantic partners, even if some of those preferences are really, really gross. When you remember the weird way Tammy ate the food at the middle school dance, her being revealed as a slob isn't too surprising. Flip originally thought he and Tammy had nothing in common, and a glamorous business tycoon like her would never date a man like him, but Tammy reveals she and Flip had more in common than he was led to believe. The interesting thing about these two being a match made in heaven, a rather gross match according to Lola, is that the things they have in common are presented as being in opposition to one another on both the surface and beneath, at least to an extent. Flip's usual public image is that of a rude, grotesque, and unprofessional slob of a businessman, while Tammy's usual public image is that of a kind, well-groomed, and professional businesswoman. However, each of them has a side that no one else knows, or at least it's not known publicly. Flip actually cares about and loves someone other than himself, and Tammy is pretty much her own version of Flip when she's not working. Basically, each of them, in their own way, puts on a charade to convince others that they're not weird, yet they know deep down they are. The only difference being one of them is more upfront about their grossness in public while the other isn't, or so it seems. They also have a shared commonality in being business people. And if I were to take a shot in the dark, suspecting Tammy of having her own brand of greediness when it comes to running her business wouldn't be too far out of the realm of possibility, leading to more speculation on my theory of Flip returning to his greedy ways not long after his date. My only minor critique about Tammy was her reasoning for showing up late to dinner. She said she needed to run back home and get all dressed up because she saw Flip was all dressed up. So she was originally going to go on a date in a bunch of dirty clothes? It would seem to suggest she normally wears those clothes when she's off the clock and out on the streets, which is kinda messed up when you think about it. I mean, I understood why she did what she did because she was trying to impress Flip the same way Flip was trying to impress her, since they both thought their respective love interests would be out of their league in more ways than one. But even if it's reasonable to say no one would ever want to date a slob, and more specifically date one in public, Tammy is a more well-known public figure compared to Flip and has a more professional reputation. If she were to casually walk around outside in the clothes she had been wearing under her dress the whole time, that would most likely damage both her image and her company's image. I don't know if I would take that kind of gamble if I were in her shoes, and maybe this was a revelation they could have done more privately, but again, it's only a minor complaint since the lesson of the story was you don't have to put on an act to get others to like you, no matter how repetitive that conflict has been played out in the series as of late. The real you is the real you, and if people don't like you because of what's on the outside compared to what you can offer on the inside, that's their loss. Still, the fact Tammy was willing to take the risk of being seen in public with Flip while they both wore what were essentially their real clothes is both a little crazy, but also kinda romantic in a sense. Risking your public image in the name of love. Hey, the heart wants what the heart wants, and love works in very strange ways. Overall, this episode may not be particularly strong in terms of its story, since it was kinda obvious what the ending was going to be, but I do appreciate the continuity it first established from the 5th season, and how it gave both Flip and Tammy some decent character development. The kids were also a big positive in transforming Flip, and the usual lesson of learning to be yourself was as good as it was going to get despite how many times we've seen it play out before. Again, I have my theory about Flip possibly reverting to his cheapskate mentality after getting together with Tammy, and I know I'm probably wrong about it, but I'm not writing it off just yet. Hopefully we see more of Tammy in future episodes, but somehow I get the feeling this was a one and done deal, so we'll just have to keep watching to find out whatever becomes of her. With that said, I give Flip This Flip a 7.5 out of 10. Well folks, that concludes my review of Flip This Flip. I will end this review with something I completely forgot to mention in my Season 5 reviews. We get another cameo from Nacho, the raccoon Flip apparently hired as an assistant at the Food and Fuel. He first appeared in Farm to Unstable and again in Runaway McBride. As far as my headcanon goes, Nacho is not just an employee, he's Flip's pet. And considering how raccoons are very sneaky in their habits, I can see why Flip likes having him around. It's like they were meant for each other, and I feel as if someone is going to take that the wrong way having just said that. But anyway, as far as this episode goes, what did you guys think of it? Love it? Hate it? Something you would add? Change? Keep it as it is? Let me know in the comments below, and make sure to subscribe to this channel for the latest Loud House content. That's going to do it for me. I'll catch you guys for the next video, but until then, this is SteamTeamRedubUK, CC Trainor-Ling, signing off. Peace out, home slices.